much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Segun, and how much time do I have? Yeah. Alright. So apparently I have just 15 minutes. So I spoke a bit on Friday, and then I think there's another session this afternoon that a couple of people from that have been through our Apps Workforce program. It's kind of like a lifetime membership. We follow your career around. So they'll give a talk later on in the afternoon as well. But for right now, I'll just try and make this interactive. So I'll leave it open to you guys. If anybody has any questions in particular, you can ask me. If not, we'll call it a morning.
What you want to know more about appworkforce.com. What you want to know more about learn, earn, and have fun. Any questions in the audience? Okay.
Good day, everyone. Good day, sir. Mine is not really a question, but I want you to do a kind of recap for some people, some persons that weren't here yesterday. Just do a kind of little recap on what appworkforce.com is all about, what is dealing with, and so that we can know. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, so that is a classic case of like, so I guess first things first, at my heart, at my core, I'm a teacher, right? So that's a classic case of I'm giving out an assignment and then somebody's giving it back to me. So what I will say though is this, again, I'll repeat myself. Later on in the afternoon, there's like a sponsorship session, so there'll be a couple of people that can address that in terms of like what Apps Workforce is all about. So I'll try and guide the discussion again. Like he said, it's learn, earn, and have fun. So we're all about learning, and we're about like building your career. So education and career development as well. So let me put it to you this way: you have, and then we're also about like having fun. So I'll break it down to you in this way, in terms of if you want to ask questions, if you have questions about like education, so you have questions about like pursuing, you want to know more about like computer science, a particular sector in computer science, anything that pertains to education, you can ask me a question about that. If you have a question about how to work on your career, get a job, get a good job, switch careers, get a promotion. If you have questions about your career, about NYSC, IT, anything that has to pertain with like jobs in general, feel free to ask me. On the education as well, JAM, SATs, GMAT, leaving the country, etc. And all those are all open questions you can ask as well. And then on the fun, I would say I love what I do. I always think if you make a choice to be, computer science, computer engineering, information management system, anything that has to do with computers, it's a great choice because it's like one of the best careers out there. We're called Apps Workforce because, I think I saw an ad somewhere a while back, and it goes something like, anything you want to do in life, there's an app for that. So whatever you can think of, there's probably an app out there that can solve it. So on the phone, I'd say if anybody has any questions about like building an app right now, like what it would entail, I can probably give you some tips about how to build an app that does something useful without having any programming knowledge. So again, anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
Good morning. I want to ask a question about our last summit. You came speaking to us. So you made mention of a website, that's edd.com. Yeah, so I log into the website, but to my to my knowledge, I was unable to get the facts you told us, because that time is like you told us we are going to get a scholarship or funds for whatever we need. So I was having a trouble loading it. So that is why I'm asking you to clear us about how to go about EDD. That's my question, sir.
All right. So good question. I talked briefly about that on yesterday. So the website is actually called edx.org, edx.org. I do not recollect anything about scholarships. So edx.org is they don't offer scholarships. They might have some scholarship programs, but to the best of my knowledge, it's really about you can log onto the website and you can take courses, not just computer science programming or technology related courses, but you can take courses in like English, psychology, other courses as well, from like accredited universities in the United States. So these are like top-notch universities, and you can take their courses, etc. and all. Some of those, when edX started in 2000, I started much earlier than that, but we started using edX. Well, we were promoting it in more plantation in Ibadan, same as early as like 2013. But and then we had like a brand called Niger Education. It led into AppSource First, which was launched in Lagos, and then we were focused. All our curriculum was tailored around what edX has to like offer. So if you get on edX, you can pretty much learn anything. There's an alternative site, Code Academy, which I talked about as well. And the difference is, edX, you will be taking courses from actual real universities out there. So it's gonna feel like being in a class that makes a lot of sense. So they'll be teaching you the fundamentals, the basics, etc. and all. And whereas Code Academy is more like stuff you need to just get started working. So it's like I don't really care to know too much about like the theory. There's a lot of practical in edX.org as well. But I just want to get stuff done. I want to learn this particular skill really quickly. So the two combined make a useful tool. Now, some of the programs on edX that are paid right now, they don't offer scholarships, but they offer financial assistance. So you might see something on there like a certificate costs, say $75. But then they'd offer financial assistance, and you'll almost always get it of like 90-something% off. So it drops down the cost of say $5 to like get the certificate. I am not big on certificates. I'm big on knowledge. So whenever you can find a course and take a course that isn't paid, or that goes, you can take the course and learn the material. But if you do so and you don't pay, you don't get the certificate. Go ahead and just learn, because knowledge is never like a waste of time. So the more you know in this field, the better off you are.
Another question? Okay.
Morning, sir. So my question, the first one, if you want to develop an app, for example, for a sales, let's say sales app, what are the fundamentals for developing the apps? What are the tools you need? And what are the resources you need as well? And two, for the hosting, to host the app, or do you host the app, or you just develop it and the app starts working on its own? I don't know whether you get my question, sir.
All right. So that's a good question. Now, if somebody approaches me and says, "I want to build an app that is like it does like sales," then it's like, what exactly are you selling? Is it like an e-commerce app in particular, or you want to drive sales for like a particular e-commerce. So it's like if it's an e-commerce app, there are probably a lot of like third-party tools, etc., and all out there that you can use. You can also consider, say, maybe if you just have your own goods that you want to sell, you can go, all right, I'm going to get on somebody else's platform, like a Congo or Gigi allows you to like sell your products if you decide to sell on there. But if it's like I want to sit down and build an app, then you have to build the skill sets of like programming development. If it's going to have like a mobile app as well, to build all of that. In terms of like hosting, it gets very technical to determine what kind of host you want to select, etc. and all. The summary of all this is that you can learn all the skills you need to reach that end goal, say like within like a year. For instance, if you take you have somebody that guides you in terms of like, this is what you have to take. Now, if somebody approaches me though and says I want you to build it for me, and I give them like a cost figure, and they go, this is going to be too expensive for me to afford, what I'll typically just say is, well, you can actually get all of that for free. Alright, so one of the things you can say is that, alright, if I have say you're walking around and you're going, I'm fresh out of school, I'm in school, and I'm trying to make some extra money, how would I go about doing that? Alright, I want to start selling goods online. So I always tell people technology is an amplifier. An amplifier is something too, when you think about sound amplifier, for instance, you have a sound, if you pump it through an amplifier, it sounds much louder. And that's kind of how all technology works. It amplifies what you're doing. So think about it as if there's something good that is going on, if you apply technology to it, it's going to amplify it. If there's something bad that is going on, if you apply technology to it, it's going to amplify it. Everybody's probably aware of like NSAS and what happened with the Lekki massacre, etc. and all. Typically, if that thing, such an incident, and there probably have been such incidences that happened in the past, maybe 20, 30 years ago, it might even be much worse than that, but the world won't know about it. But that happened, and young people use technology, Twitter, etc., and all to amplify it, and a bad thing became really much worse. So that's the example of technology amplifying stuff. To use like your sales example, for instance, if you are selling orange juice and your orange juice tastes terrible, but your friends don't tell you that, your family doesn't tell you that, and then you pay somebody to build you some expensive app to like start marketing and selling your orange juice to the masses, all of a sudden you're gonna have 10,000 strangers that don't know you asking for their money back because your orange juice tastes terrible. But on the other hand, if you have orange juice that tastes great and you build an app around it to just sell that orange juice, and then you start selling, etc. and all, then all of a sudden it's like, wow, everybody's loving it, they're referring it to their friend, your product goes viral, you make a lot of money, and it's like, oh wow, I can't believe somebody can make money from oranges like that. So that's what technology does. So taking a step back, I'm young, I'm into computer science, I might not know a lot of programming, but I want to add value to my community. How can I go about doing that? Social media is big, so you can take any store within your vicinity, etc. and all, and start going, approach them and say, I can help you sell online. If you're not online now, take pictures, put up an Instagram page for them, and start promoting their products. People will come and they will buy. So you don't actually have to sit down somewhere and go, I'm going to build an app to like sell products online. There are apps out there that do that already. You can help them with like customer engagement through stuff like Facebook. I always tell people online, content is king. So whatever you do, you want to post frequently. So even if you're helping somebody sell something on Instagram, you want your posts to be like frequent. If you're trying to help them engage in conversations on Facebook or Twitter, you want your posts to be frequent. And it's going viral is almost something that happens like exponentially. So getting your first 10 customers might be very, very difficult. It probably not might be as hard as getting your next 100 customers, and then getting your next 1,000 customers might turn out to be easier than that. So and when I say it gets hard, it's hard. Typically it might be you have to post frequently for like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months before you get your first 10 customers. But then, because you have that body of work and you're consistent, rapidly, good things will like follow. So, social media is big out there. For us, as an organization, anybody, whether you're into graphics, programming, information security, whatever, you have to be versed in Google Apps. It's now called G Suite, but it's a big part of like why we chose that name. So Google Apps is like an office productivity tool. So I'm able to do spreadsheets online, Word documents online, presentations online, etc. And typically what that means is that if I create a spreadsheet now and I share, if every single person in this room has a Gmail address, we can all work on the same spreadsheet simultaneously. And what that means is that all of a sudden, when you have 30 people working on the same thing, you'll be amazed what results you can achieve. So one of the other lessons is that there are people out there that have built great apps, and you don't necessarily have to know how to build an app, but you do need to make an effort to learn how to use some of those apps.
Thank you. I think we all understand according to what he gave to us now. And our question has been well answered. You are here to... Okay, you still have question?
Sorry, sir. So what I actually want to understand is, if you're building an app for e-commerce, for instance, and you don't have much of programming knowledge or good technical knowledge, but you actually want to do it, are there kind of some instances of some websites or apps that you can leverage on using their template to build your own temporarily, like a franchise, being on one, leverage on the other to build your own? I don't know whether you get me right.
Yeah, so I got your question right, and like I said, some of the resources like edX, Codecademy, etc., and all will show you how to build an app. Google is your friend. You can always Google, how do I get an e-commerce platform for free, for instance, and you'll find options, etc., and all on it. But at the core of everything I do, besides the learning, is the earning. So whenever you want to do something, there needs to be a cost-benefit analysis. So do you want to find yourself in a situation where you are trying to build an app for a year, for instance? You don't have technical skills. You're trying to put some roughshod implementation together temporarily, as you say. You bleed a lot of money in that 1 year. You lose your potential customers, and then you're going, Sapa, don't catch me, I'm broke. This field doesn't really make a lot of sense. Versus you go, well, I want to sell goods online. Konga, Jimmy, etc. allows me to sell my products online. I can use Instagram creatively, etc. I can get on my own social media, etc. In that 1 year, I'm going to make significant profits. In that 1 year as well, I can be building up my technical skills, right? Besides just searching on Google, YouTube, etc. But some of the quick solutions you're mentioning, but taking classes from the likes of edX and Codecademy to build up your fundamentals, while at the same time in that period making sure you're earning as well. So I always like to have a focus on like, do something, right? You will be amazed. There are people that are much older than you that will say stuff like, I don't know how to use email, for instance. So sometimes you think what you know is very little, whereas what's actually happening is that what you know is a lot more than the next person, but you're making a choice, like a self-defeatist attitude that I don't know a whole lot, so I'm not going to go out there and try and do XYZ until I know a whole lot much more. There's always something to learn. So there are things that even me myself, I'll look at like, I can't really accomplish that. The client will approach me about something and I'll go, I can't really accomplish that. But I never go, no. I go, well, this is what I can do for you now. Given what you want to accomplish, this is what I can do for you now. And we'll work towards that end goal. And the other thing you do is like, if somebody asks you for something and you can't do it, then just put a price tag on it that is expensive. Like, if I was to do this for you, it'll cost this much money. But if I do it this way, which is like the way you understand, it'll cost this much. So how about we do it like this first and we work up towards that? And if they say yes to that, then the answer is also easy. All you do is you go out there and you reach out to people. Networking is big, and you find out who knows how to build stuff like this. I'll pay them this and I'll collect this.
Thank you very much for the wonderful knowledge that you've been sharing with us since. So my question is regarding the part of education where you were talking about TDX, Code Academy, and some other platforms like that. So one of the major challenges that I've heard about, or should I say, the feedbacks I've received with people using online platforms to learn is how they go about dealing with their blockers. So like when they are faced with a challenge or a problem and they're finding it difficult to forge ahead, you see, it's not every time that they actually do a research or go to Google and they find something that speaks directly to the problem that they have. So it now becomes something that stagnates them and prevents them from moving forward when they get to that point where they don't understand what to do and how to move on next. So someone in that kind of virtual environment, that virtual learning environment, where you don't actually there's really not too much interaction with other learners or with your teacher or with the instructor, because most of the time the videos, or should I say the instruction and the curriculum, the learning material might probably be something that has been provided earlier on, and just have to go there at your own time, at your own pace, to go and follow up. So when you are faced with those kind of blockers and issues, how do you deal with them? How do you proceed? And thank you, sir.
All right, so that is an excellent question. I'd say the answer to that is going to sort of sound selfish. I think that is part of the problem that we are trying to solve. So I always tell people, AW is a platform built by Nigerians for Nigerians, or AW is a people. That comes from, if anybody has watched the Marvel movies, Thor Ragnarok, they're communities of people. I think, I've seen, I think maybe it was in Kenya or something, where they had the study, and they're a group of very talented students that had very rewarding careers. The program makes a lot of sense, and it's internationally funded now, etc. and all. And they said they're trying to set up a virtual environment, and they had instructors that come in every now and then. It was virtual learning, etc. and all. But the program struggled initially, and then what they discovered was that when they just let the students be and learn on their own, but in teams, they moved much faster. So I think your question is actually no different from your regular, I think people now, but if you had an actual physical campus, like a UI or a poly or whatever, and a lecturer comes and he gives you an assignment, and you have no clue about how to forge ahead with that particular assignment. Typically what happens is you form study groups. Somebody knows the material and is a tutor in charge, etc. and all. It's no different from learning online. So what we try and do is that when people are learning, group them together. So we don't promote every course out there. We promote a select number of courses so that you have 3-4 people taking the courses online at the same time. So when you get stuck, there are people around you that might be stuck in the same place as well, that you can work together to kind of move ahead. The beauty about any sort of like online platform as well is, before you actually start taking any course etc. online, get to know how to use a platform. So a lot of these platforms have like forums etc. now that you can post questions on. And those forums might have a certain type of standard. You can't just come, and typically it's like you can't just come there and post a random question that comes across it like you haven't done the work. But if you're able to like copy and paste the particular part you're stuck on and be like, I have done the work up until this point, but at this stage I am stuck. Is anybody else out there having a similar issue, or knows the solution, or can point me in the right direction towards what I can do?
Thank you very much, sir. Please, let's jam our hands together for him. At least we have learned 1 or 2 things now. I really know that.